Tom is standing in the office kitchen, paper plate in hand, 3 feet away from a circle of coworkers singing happy birthday to someone he barely knows. Nobody looks at him. Nobody hands him a slice of cake. He's close enough to hear every word of the conversation and far enough away that he might as well not be there at all. What if you could disappear from a room full of people who know your name? 2 weeks later, in a meeting, a coworker glances at him and says, "Sorry, Todd, right? It's the second time this month someone's gotten his name wrong." Nobody in the room corrects her. Tom doesn't either. He just nods and lets it go, the way he always does. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. People don't ignore you because you're boring. They ignore you because somewhere along the way, you trained them to expect nothing from you. This is the story of the day Tom decided to stop disappearing. Tom learned to shrink a long time before he ever set foot in an office. He grew up the third of 4 kids in a house that was always loud, plates clattering, voices overlapping, someone always getting in trouble for something. Tom noticed early that the quiet kid never got yelled at, so he became the quiet kid. In 3rd grade, he raised his hand once with an answer he was proud of. A few kids laughed, not even cruelly, just enough. Tom never raised his hand again. Not that year. Not really ever. Fast forward 2 decades, and Tom is 31, 10 years into the same company. He's never late, never causes a problem, never asks for anything. On paper, he's the perfect employee. In reality, he's furniture. He eats lunch alone at his desk most days. In meetings, he nods along with whoever's speaking loudest, even when he disagrees. More than once, he's mentioned an idea quietly to a coworker, only to watch that same idea get repeated louder in a meeting a week later and get credit for it. His inner voice has a script it never breaks from. If I don't take up space, no one can reject me. One afternoon, he watches a colleague get praised by their director for an idea Tom had pitched to that same colleague over coffee 2 weeks earlier. Tom says nothing. He just looks down at his notepad and keeps typing. The weeks start blending together, all variations on the same theme. Tom finishes an entire project flawlessly, clean, ahead of deadline, exactly what was asked. It gets emailed out to the whole department under his manager's name. Not maliciously, his manager probably didn't even think about it. Tom's name just wasn't the one anyone thought to include. At a team dinner one night, the waiter takes everyone's order around the table, except Tom's, twice. Nobody at the table notices he hasn't spoken, because nobody at the table was really listening for him in the first place. Inside, something is keeping score. Every overlooked moment, every missed name. He never says any of it out loud. He just adds it to the pile. Then comes the promotion. Tom applies for an internal role he's more than qualified for. He doesn't even get called for an interview. When he finally asks his manager what happened, the answer lands like a slap dressed up as honesty. "Honestly, I forgot you wanted it." After that, something in Tom dims even further. He starts speaking softer in meetings. He walks with his head down a little more. He rereads every email 10 times before sending it, terrified of being noticed for the wrong reason, as if being noticed at all were the danger. Tom thought playing it safe would keep him protected. What he didn't realize is that it had made him forgettable. Then comes the meeting that breaks the pattern wide open.
A major client is sitting across the table, and the team's big proposal has a flaw in it, a real one. The kind that could lose the account. Tom noticed it days ago. He even drafted a fix, sitting quietly in a folder on his desktop, untouched, unsent. He assumed someone more senior would catch it. Someone always does. Someone other than him. The client starts pushing back, visibly frustrated, talking about walking. And in that tension, Tom's manager turns and snaps at him in front of the entire room. "Did you know about this and not say anything?" The blame lands on the quiet guy. Unfair, sudden, public. Every head turns toward Tom. And something in him, 10 years of staying small, 10 years of swallowing his own ideas, finally refuses to shrink any further. His hands are shaking, his voice cracks on the first word, but he stands up anyway, pulls up his fix on the screen, and walks the client through it, point by point, his voice steadying with every sentence. The room goes completely silent. Then the client nods, slowly, then with relief. The deal holds. And for the first time in 10 years, every single eye in that room is actually on Tom. Afterward, his manager pulls him aside, not to apologize for the outburst, but to ask a real question. Why have you never mentioned having ideas like that before? Tom doesn't have a clean answer, but something has cracked open, and he isn't interested in sealing it back shut. He starts small. He speaks first in meetings instead of last. He sends emails under his own name instead of letting them quietly slide to someone else. The first few times, he fumbles his words, overthinks every sentence before it leaves his mouth. He pushes through it anyway. A few weeks later, he asks his manager directly for the promotion he was passed over for, not hinting, not waiting to be noticed, but naming his own contributions out loud, one by one. There's a long pause across the desk, and then, for the first time, his manager actually listens. He starts eating lunch with the team instead of at his desk. He starts conversations instead of waiting for someone to include him. It isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it's just there now in a way it never used to be. He wasn't becoming loud, he was becoming visible. Months later, there's another office celebration. Different person, same kind of kitchen, same kind of crowd. Someone calls out across the room, "Tom, get over here, we need your take on this." And Tom walks in, not to the edge of the group this time, into the middle of it. On his way, he catches his own reflection in the office glass. For the first time in longer than he can remember, he doesn't look away from it. Invisibility was never something done to him. It was a space he built around himself, quietly, one small moment at a time. Every swallowed idea, every softened voice, every time he let someone else take the credit so he wouldn't have to take the risk. Think about it. The wrong name in that meeting, the accusation that finally cracked him, the shaking voice that saved the deal, the lunch table he finally sat down at. None of it happened because the world suddenly decided to notice Tom. It happened because Tom finally decided to be noticed. So ask yourself honestly, is the room actually ignoring you, or have you been quietly asking it to? If something in this story landed for you, drop a comment with one small way you're going to take up a little more space this week. And if you want more stories like Tom's, stick around. There's more coming.